What's bubbling, magical people? Welcome back to the Witching Hour with Miss Merlin, where we like to talk about all things witchy and magical. I'm your host, Kimmy, aka Miss Merlin, High Priestess and Shamaness, Medicine Woman, Psychic Medium, and Witch Extraordinaire. So let's get into it. Today, we are talking about Thor and Loki. So, of course, this episode was supposed to go up 2 weeks ago, but due to the ice storm and having no internet or power, I couldn't get it to you. Now, I apologize if you guys can hear the traffic noise in the background. All of those trees between my property, the back of my property, and the highway are gone. Lost them all in that ice storm. It's either like fell down, split in half. Oh, man. The destruction around here it's crazy. I've never seen anything like this. Some of my city still has no power. And it's been like 2 weeks. It is crazy. I still have mine, although it went out again the other day for like 2 hours. And I was having like a PTSD moment. Oh man, I was scared. It was not fun. But anyways, we are going to start today with Thor and Loki. So we're going to talk about the Norse mythology versus the Marvel universe, if you're familiar with that. A little about each of these different, complex, and in my opinion, very fun deities to work with. Some of the main stories, how to connect with them, when's the best time, offerings for both, and what they can best help you with if you feel drawn to work with them. So we're going to start with Thor or Thor. That would be how you say it in Norse. So Thor's popularity has really endured over centuries, transitioning from Norse mythology into pop culture, where his central character in comic books, movies, literature, Thor's characters continually reinvented, yet the core elements of his person and of his mythology persist as well, making him a timeless figure of strength and protection. Thor and the variations of that name, Thorson, Thorgood, are still very popular names in Nordic countries, even today. And we also know that he was a very well-revered god by the sheer number of Thor's hammers that are found by archaeologists in many locations around the world. Seriously, guys, Google it. It's really cool to look at them. And the Thor's hammer that Marvel uses is not the same as the real actual Mjolnir. All right. I did put some visuals and some pictures on my social media to accompany today's episode to help you out. So you might want to check that out at @the_Miss Merlin on all platforms. I'll put all other links in my link tree below. I did forget to put up pictures of like the 9 realms and the Bifrost Bridge and a couple things that we're going to talk about today, but I'm going to explain them to the best of my ability. Sorry about that. I just thought about that now, and I apologize. So Thor is the son of Odin, the Allfather of the Aesir pantheon. Okay, so the Norse gods are broken up into 2 groups, the Aesir and the Vanir. All right, so the Aesir were the more powerful, warrior-like gods, while the Vanir are more the gods of fertility and prosperity, more with magical and less of a warlike focus. That's a good kind of way to describe them. So they're broken up into those 2 factions. So Odin is the Allfather of all, okay? So Odin is the deity of wisdom and war, among other things. Thor represents brute strength and valor. Their relationship is marked by Odin's desire to mold Thor into a powerful leader, often placing expectations on him that drive Thor's actions. And we can all relate to that. Parents placing expectations on us. Odin's teachings and philosophies influence Thor immensely, instilling in him the values that he directly reflects of honor, loyalty, and courage. Thor's adventures often reflect his father's wisdom mixed with his own impulsive nature. So Marvel's interpretation into the complexity and often contentiousness of their relationship is quite on the mark to the mythology. Now Thor's mother was Jord, not Frigga. Marvel combined Freya and Frigg, which isn't really surprising because many ancient texts do the same, making them the same goddess. So sometimes you will see Frigg and Freya being the same goddess, and sometimes you will see them being two completely different ones. The personification of Earth is Jord. She bestows Thor with a connection to the natural world, and through her, Thor gains dominion over storms and fertility, linking him to the cycles of nature and the protection of the earth. Jord also is a giantess, okay? Now we have his brothers, Thor's brothers. Heimdall. So if you are familiar with the Marvel Universe, you would know Heimdall. He keeps the vigilant watch over the Bifrost Bridge. Heimdall, with his heightened senses, ensures the security of the gods' realm. As their watchman, he sounds the horn when he sees any enemy Jotun, giants. Marvel really kind of got him right. The way that he was written, his personality, all those things. The Bifrost, or the Rainbow Bridge, that he protects is the bridge between Midgard, Earth, and Asgard. Asgard is the home of the gods. It's essentially Norse heaven, okay? And in Marvel, the Bifrost Bridge is more like a technology or a portal, and it looks terribly uncomfortable to travel in. It's very pretty, though. The rainbow part, that's actually connected to Asgard, that's pretty on point, and it's beautiful. But the portal-y part that they go in, if you're familiar with the Marvel Universe, yeah, I don't know what that is. And it looks pretty scary, for sure. So in Norse mythology, you have the great tree, Yggdrasil, okay? And the 9 realms in Norse mythology, or 9 dimensions, reside within that tree, okay? But all you need to know for today is Asgard, okay, which is essentially Norse heaven, okay? Midgard, Middle Earth, that's what that translates to, which is Earth, okay? And then Hell, right? Kind of the same as organized religion's version of hell. All right? So then we have Hermod, the god's messenger. Now this is interesting because Hermod is spelled Hermod. And we know Hermes is spelled Hermes. And he was also a messenger too. So this also with Mercury kind of blending in with Roman god Mercury, the messenger. So all of these kind of blend together. I just think that's really interesting. And then we have Balder, the god of light and purity. He was Odin and Frigg's favorite and was said to be insanely good looking. Balder's tragic fate profoundly affects Thor. It heightens the themes of loss and the fragility of life, which resonate through Thor's sagas. And then there's Tyr, who's the god of war, symbolizing war and justice. And we have Veli and Vidar. Veli, born with a singular purpose. Veli's life mission was to avenge Balder's death, making him a symbol of swift justice and one of the gods of vengeance. Then we have Vidar, who's mysterious and silent. Vidar's associated with revenge and prophecy. It's suggested that he will outlive Ragnarok, the end of the world. Veli and Vidar stand united in their roles as defenders of the Aesir. Both Vidar and Veli are prophesied to play crucial roles in Ragnarok. Again, the Norse end of the world. And we have Bragi, who was the god of poetry, eloquence, and music, narrating the tales of valor, love, and mythic grandeur. Then we have Hodur, who was blind. Okay, please keep that in mind. Hodur, blind. It's important to another story later. So, being blind, Hodur is a god of darkness and winter. Hodur's reputation is often overshadowed by the tragic accident where he unknowingly caused Baldur's death, his brother. We're going to get into that story in a little bit. Norse mythology, handed down orally for generations before being recorded into written form, can be a complex and sometimes contradictory. It's A fascinating labyrinth of deities, giants, dwarfs, and other supernatural beings, each with unique stories and relationships that kind of intertwine with each other. In some accounts, Thor is portrayed as an only child or as having solely brothers, but in some sagas, it's mentioned that he has a sister. The most widely accepted narrative identifies her as Thrud. Thrud is often described as a minor goddess in Norse mythology, and her appearance in ancient texts are limited. They provide no intriguing insight really into her character. She's mainly known as Thor and Sif's daughter, okay? Because I told you the writings are contradictory. So she comes up as actually Thor's daughter instead of his sister. In terms of appearance, there's no really detailed descriptions of Thrud. Yet, as the daughter of Thor, the god of strength and thunder, you would probably envision her as a very powerful figure. She's kind of been taken on as a symbol of feminism, actually, because Thrud is known to be a very strong goddess, right? Taking on those attributes of her father, being in a female form. There's also been writings pertaining to Freya being Thor's sister, but we don't see anything of that in the ancient texts either, that they're siblings. It's important to note, though, that in Norse mythology, as in many other pantheons, like we've been discussing, the relationships between the deities are often fluid and complex, embodying more symbolic and often spiritual connections rather than biological ones. I know. It's really hard for me to wrap my head around that too. It gives me the ick still, but that's the way we're supposed to think about it. Another reoccurring anomaly, I can't say that word today. Anomaly, there it is. Yes. This pertains to Hela, the goddess of the underworld. In pop culture, particularly in the Marvel universe, Hela is described as Thor's sister. Scriptwriters and comic book artists created this version of Hela as an antagonist to Thor. In this depiction, she's presented as the firstborn of Odin. However, in traditional Norse mythology, Hela is known as Hel. She is definitely a significant figure, but her familial ties diverge notably because Hel is actually the daughter of Loki and the giantess Angraboda. She is also the sibling of Fenrir, the great wolf, and the great serpent Jormungandr. Now, these interpretations reflect the creative liberties that are often taken when adapting ancient mythology into a modern narrative, shaping and reshaping the characters to fit the storytelling needs. I am not the biggest fan of Marvel, guys, but for you, I watched every single one of the Thor movies and I watched the entire Loki series because I wanted to be able to compare the two and give you the most accurate information. So I did that for you. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Marvel person. All right, so Thor was married to Sif. Sif is known as the golden-haired goddess. His marriage to Sif adds another layer into his character and the family structure. Often recognized by her glorious golden hair, she's the goddess of fertility, grain, and family. Her beautiful locks were once maliciously cut off by Loki in one story, where Loki had to restore them using dwarven magic, resulting in her hair becoming even more enchanting than it was before. Thor and Sif's marriage, by most accounts, is very, very harmonious. Marvel's Sif was a friend with a crush. So when in Norse mythology, it was actually Thor that was head over heels for Sif. It was like a love at first sight thing. He was with a giantess before he saw Sif. And like I said, it was love at first sight. And that was the end of that. Also, Norse mythology, Sif is known for her golden hair. And Marvel's Sif was brunette. So, that's wrong. And Sif, Norse mythology, Sif is also known for her gentleness, and Marvel's Sif was quite the warrior. So she was very cool, but not the same. Sif often acts as a grounding force for Thor, reminding him of the importance of home and family amidst his tumultuous adventures. Together, Sif and Thor have 3 children: Magni, Modi, and Thrud. Magni translates to the strong, known for his immense strength, a direct inheritance from his dad, making him a formidable figure in his own right. He is prophesied to survive Ragnarok, the end of the world, as are all of Thor's children. He symbolizes hope and continuity for Thor's lineage. Then we have Modi, which translates to the brave. He represents the qualities of bravery and resilience. Modi is often depicted as courageous and fierce, embodying the warrior spirit that Thor has instilled into him. Modi's actions in the sagas hint at the continuation of Thor's ideals and the ongoing fight against chaos. Then we have Thrud, which means powerful. Thor's daughter with Sif, and again, in some writings, she was his sister. In this narrative, she's his daughter. And I like this one because this one, Thrud, is actually said to be one of the Valkyries. And the Valkyries are those like badass shield-maiden ghost women that take the best of the best warriors from the battlefield back to whatever hall they are going to. All right. So the one really famous tale that involves Thrud in Norse mythology is the tale of Thrud and Alvis. Alvis is one of the dwarfs. All right, so the dwarfs, they are master metal craftsmen. They're the cosmic dwarfs. It's like magical. They show up in a lot of stories. They're famous for making Odin's spear, Freya's necklace, Thor's hammer, of course. So Alvis being one of the dwarves. One of the most famous ones featuring Thrud is her marriage to Alvis. He's the dwarf known for wisdom. Unhappy with this arrangement, Thor devised a plan to prevent the marriage. Thrud didn't want it either. So in this narrative, Thor challenged Alvis to a contest of knowledge, getting him to talk about astrology, which he was very, very knowledgeable about and passionate about. So the cunning god knew this, and he purposely let him talk and let him talk and let him talk until dawn. As per the rules of this particular mythology, once sunlight hits, it turned the dwarf into stone, effectively saving his daughter from the unwanted marriage. So this tale really underscores Thor's protective instincts toward his children. He also has a stepson named Ullr, often associated with Thor. He's not Thor's biological son. He was renowned as the god of winter, hunting, and archery. Ullr's skills with the bow and skis are legendary, and many believe that he ruled over Asgard during Odin's occasional absences, suggesting that he was very significant in stature among the gods. Their bond really underscores the importance of family, not just by blood, but also ties forged by trust, love, respect, and shared experience. So Thor has a chariot that is drawn by 2 male goats, Tengrisnir and Tengriskir. He's known as the Lord of the Goats or the Chariot God. He doesn't fly around with his hammer like in Marvel. That's not a thing. He either walks or he uses his chariot. These goats that pull his chariot are not ordinary goats. They're very, very magical creatures. Every evening, Thor could feast on them. And by the next morning, they would be restored again to life, provided that their bones remained intact. They symbolize regeneration, abundance, and Thor's connection to the common man, who also relied on livestock for sustenance. So Thor lives in Thrudheim, or Thrudvangir. His hall is Bilsknir, All right, so they all have their own halls, okay? So you're probably familiar with Valhalla, okay? That's Odin's hall. That's where all the fallen best of the best warriors go, okay? And then we have Folkrangir, which is Freya's hall. And it's not really said too much how you really get into the specific halls. Freya's, it said mothers who died in childbirth, great warriors who maybe didn't die in battle, but they died of old age or like a plague or something like that. They would go to Folkrangir. But we're not really sure how to get into Thor's hall. It's not said, not really written. Thor has a couple sacred items to him. He has Makin, which is the girdle of strength, a belt. So when it's worn, this belt amplifies his already formidable strength, making him unstoppable. It was an essential accessory for him. He also has his Jerngripir, which are the iron gloves. They weren't just regular gloves, but gauntlets that allowed Thor to wield his hammer without harming himself, giving the hammer's immense power and energy. And then the most popular, of course, is Mjolnir, which translates to grinder, which was Thor's hammer, the symbol of power. It was also an extension of his will, a manifestation of thunder and force. Mjolnir had the unique ability to always return to Thor after being thrown as a potent weapon. The hammer became so well known, it's the most recognized Viking symbol today. The hammer is also a symbol of fertility. It was crafted by the magical dwarves, and it is said that through Thor celebrating with humans, consecrating births and harvests, this brought the gods closer to humans. He was a deity very in tune to humans. He celebrated with them and also grieved their losses and shared in their struggles. The bond between the celestial and the terrestrial, the divine and the mortal, strengthening in solidarity. So the hammer is a great symbol of unity and solidarity as well. As he's written about, he's described as very, very big in stature, fierce looking, with a very fiery temperament and a big red beard. And of course, very strong and very muscly. Not Marvel Thor. There was the gag where they were kind of making fun of him because he really didn't want to cut his hair. So Marvel's Thor is a little more vain and a little more arrogant than my Thor. So his eyes were described as very piercing. He was the strongest of all the Aesir gods, also known for his huge appetite for both food and drink. He's often portrayed, even in the sagas, as kind of a dumb jock type. I'm sorry, Thor. I couldn't think of any other way to describe it. And although he's not a genius, he does have a lot of wisdom to share. Nothing in comparison to his father Odin, of course. Wisdom being not his main trait. But he is the god of lightning, thunder, rain, wind, weather, strength, and fertility. Less known for fertility, for humans and agriculture. Thor is the defender of Asgard and Midgard. So, Norse heaven and Midgard, Middle Earth, Earth. Against dangerous forces of the giants, the Jotun or Jotnar, and other beings. Jotnar is just the plural for Jotun. Okay. So Thor is a friend of man. He was always called on for doing lots of things, protection mostly, but also for consecrating runes, which you wouldn't think would be something that he would do, that would be more of Odin's thing. But it's also connected to Thor. If you want to learn more about Odin, guys, you can go back a couple episodes. I talked about Odin a few episodes ago. So family dynamics were very central to the narratives in Norse mythology, with the gods often reflecting human relationships, conflicts, etc. Thor's interactions with his family illustrate themes of loyalty, love, and the struggles between duty and personal desires. These relationships not only define Thor's character, but also enrich the larger mythological tapestry. All right, so in one of the stories that's kind of amusing that has Thor and Loki together, the giant Thrym steals Mjolnir And to get it back, so that's Thor's hammer. To get it back, he demands Freya's hand in marriage. And Freya is like, no, not having it. Like, the audacity, you know, and the other gods the same. Like, how could you even, the audacity to even ask? So Thor cross-dresses as Freya, and Loki goes as his handmaiden, and they go and marry Thrym. And Thrym hands the hammer to Thor, thinking it's Freya, as a wedding present. And Thor sheds his disguise and unleashes his wrath upon Thrym and his kin. But that was always kind of a funny story. And then there's, of course, Ragnarok, which we have to talk about a little bit. So Ragnarok, the end of the world. The serpent, Jormungandr, releases its tail. So you would see this depicted sometimes a lot in tarot cards, right? When you would see the earth with the big serpent wrapped around it with its tail in its mouth. So Jormungandr releases its tail from its mouth and wriggles onto the land, meeting up with Fenrir, his brother, the great wolf. Then Jormungandr releases poison upon everything, and Fenrir releases fire. Then Thor faces off against Jormungandr in a climactic battle. Thor emerges victorious, slaying the massive beast. However, this victory comes at a cost, because after only taking 9 steps from the site of their battle, Thor succumbs to the serpent's venom. So this marks the tragic demise of the god of thunder, amidst the larger fall of the gods in total. This final confrontation exemplifies Thor's unyielding courage and determination, even in the face of inevitable doom. So, to connect with Thor, the oak tree and the rowan tree are sacred to Thor. So you could, have a branch or leaves, something like that. Obviously, you want to ask permission from the tree before you break a branch off or something like that. Always, because they are living beings too. It's actually really interesting. I just read something that says, like, plants can see you. Like, they can see you, and they're trying to, like, telepathically connect with you to let you know that they need attention or they need water or something. That's why we say it's a good thing to talk to your plants. It's not silly, okay? And trees especially, they're so connected. When there's a group of trees in the forest and one is not doing so well, the others will all redirect all the nutrients coming into the root systems to that tree to help bring it back and help make it better, heal it. Trees are amazing. They really, really are. Plants are, just in general. Okay, sorry. Sidebar. Thor's rune is Thorisas, which I have in the visuals if you want to see it. And this rune represents Thor's hammer. The colors are red and orange to connect with him. If you wanted to use crystals, clear quartz, fire jasper, carnelian, red jasper, basically anything fiery, red, orange color. Offerings, wearing the hammer, obviously, putting it on your altar, sacred space, goat-related things, figurines, goat milk, cheese, beer, also. Exercising or lifting weights in his honor. He likes that. It especially honors him if you don't like doing it. So if you do it with the intention, this is for you, Thor. If you hate it, he digs that. The best time to work with him is during a thunderstorm, of course. I got some really awesome magic that I was doing with Thor during that thunder, freezing rain, whatever that was. And I caught it on video. Yeah, I showed it to Mal. We talked about it a little bit last week. The day that is sacred to Thor is Thursday. Actually, the English word Thursday comes from Thor's Day, signifying Thor's influence, which is extended even into the modern calendar. Also, with Odin's Day, which is Wednesday, and Friday is Freya's Day. So still very much a part of the modern calendar. When would you want to ask for Thor's help? For protection, most definitely. Anytime during a storm, I called on him a lot during that storm that was going on here to help me with my power, help me be safe, help have the trees not fall onto my house. But he was here for me. So if you are seeking safe passage or you want to get home safe, something like that, he's definitely had my back. For sure. Restoring power to me, for sure, before the whole rest of my city. Crazy. And I have the hammer hanging in the rearview mirror of my car. I also wear Thor's hammer around my waist every day. He's a great deity to call upon to start any physical fitness regimen. If you need some help with motivation, like I said, if you really don't like doing it, Thor's the one. Okay, Thor's the one who's going to help you. Anytime you're feeling weak or just not in your body, not connected to your body, he's a great god for helping you with any mental illness, helping you regain your mental strength and clarity, or helping you clear your magical space also and standing guard over any magical rite or rituals that you're performing. So I always, like I said, have Thor protecting everything I do, always, all the time. He's like a big brother. I always ask him to give me safe passage. So sometimes I will have a visual of him, like, because he's humongous, right? Like surfing on top of my little tiny car. But I see him there a lot. He's fun. He really does have like a practical, jokey kind of energy. He's very chill. He connects with junk food. So if he's one of your deities, be prepared for him to show up and want to share, especially if you're having like pizza or burgers or something. He will come up and want some of your veggie burger too, although it's not it's not his favorite. I'm a vegetarian. It's not his favorite thing about me, but he does have a bit of an ego. And he really likes it when you read his stories or talk about him, think about him, acknowledge he exists, etc. So, like, he loves the fact that I'm doing this podcast on him right now. Like, loves it. Which I couldn't understand why he didn't give me my power back faster, so I could have gotten this out when it was supposed to be out. But anyways, I'm not going to give him too much of a hard time because he did give me my power back before the rest of the city, and I appreciate that. He's extremely chill. He's very friendly. Like I said, he has that big brother energy. He's very down to earth and understanding. Because he spent so much time with man, he understands, right? He gets it. He's easygoing and straightforward, but he has that duality. So he is a warrior. But he will, like, be practical jokey with you, but he won't play at the same time. Don't try to pull a fast one on him. It's not going to go well. He makes himself known physically if you ask for a sign. Very, very physical deity. So if you ask for it, he's definitely going to show up and give it to you in a very physical way. Just some examples from myself. Like I said, I've seen him surfing on top of my car. If you don't have psychic vision, he will do other things. Knock things over, make big noises, big cracks or creaks in your house that, like, that's something else. Like, that's not a normal, how your house makes normal noises, it's something bigger than that. Okay. You could hear like a big foot stomp or something along those lines. Things falling over or falling down is usually a good sign. He likes to knock stuff over. Anything physical. But something is going to happen in your physical space that you are just going to know is Thor. It'll have his energy all over it. Like, for example, that thunder and ice storm that I had. His energy was all over that one. Basically, though, Thor always answers. He always does. You just got to be open to it. And next, we're going to talk about Loki. I love Loki. I love him. So Loki's known as the trickster god. He's also become a queer icon, which he takes really, really seriously. Like, really seriously. So there's some debate around him being a deity. In very, very old Norse, he is referred to as the plunderer. It was also his extreme intelligence that, because of that, the walls of Asgard were completed. It was said in the old text that he was beautiful and comely to look upon, evil in spirit, very fickle in habit. But I think he's valid, no matter how you look at it, because modern people validate him. People still worship him right now. People worshipped him then. So he's a god. Some see him as an evil Satan-type figure, that he should never be honored, never worshipped, his name should never be mentioned. And that's because of Baldur's death, and with him in the sagas fighting on the side of the giants in Ragnarok. Now, Loki is actually a giant. He was born of 2 giants, just so you know. Personally, I love him. They, them. I'm going to use he, him, just because that's what I'm familiar with. He's super fun to work with. The total villainizing of Loki, I think, is way too much. It's a personal preference and what you feel comfortable with. You don't want to work with him, or you're afraid to because of his reputation? Okay, it's fine. But if you do, I'll go into some ways to connect with him in the end. Stories like Ragnarok also, and Baldur's death have been heavily influenced by Christianity, as we've discussed before, because they like to discredit many of the pagan deities and make them something to fear, stay away from. There's other writings in the ancient texts where Loki has nothing to do with Baldur's death at all. So there was an author, her name is Hilda Ellis Davidson, and I think she wrote it really well when she said, "Many of his acts are the doings of a naughty boy, rather than crimes against righteous gods." And I really, really think that that's correct. That's the energy that I feel from him. In most of the stories, Loki is more like playing pranks or tricks because he finds it funny and entertaining. And in the end, positive things happen most of the time. I just find it really, really strange that people tend to villainize Loki and celebrate Odin. I mean, I love Odin. He's my all-father. I love him, love him, love him. But some of the stories are pretty similar, some of the things that they did. So if you're going to celebrate one, villainize the other, it's kind of not fair, right? So Loki is the son of Farbauti and Laufey. In the world of Marvel Comics and movies, Laufey is Loki's father. So they switched the genders for that. Farbauti is a Jotun, whose name translates as dangerous striker. So Loki's real dad, okay? Loki's personality is marked by complexity and duality. Marvel didn't stray too far from it. So you know how I've told you guys about how some creatives and actors that are very good, right? When they're in their craft, they don't even realize that they're channeling certain characters when they're doing this, right? Travis Fimmel in Vikings, that's a great example. Val Kilmer, rest in peace. Oh, that broke my heart. Jim Morrison in The Doors. My God. Yeah, that's a really good example of it. And the guy who plays Loki in the Disney series Loki, it's pretty much bang on. I really do like it. He's both a companion and an adversary, often engaging in acts of mischief that lead to both beneficial and detrimental consequences. He's known for his cunning nature. Loki's intelligence often helps him devise clever solutions to problems faced by the other deities. He's a shapeshifter. He shapeshifts into animals. I think in Norse mythology, I think he only shapeshifted into an old woman, as in a person, one time. It was always animals. So, I know Marvel had him transforming into people. But he did, in Norse mythology, what's the word I'm looking for? Transfigure, I guess that's the word I was trying to go for, into a mare, a salmon, a flea. There was a couple other ones. A seal. Yeah. Showcasing his unpredictable nature. He's a blood brother to Odin. and his role among the Aesir and Vanir is often seen as both ally and foe. So, is Loki bisexual in Norse mythology? Loki's gender is certainly fluid in Norse mythology. He shapeshifted into a mare, female horse, in one tail, and he actually got pregnant as a female horse and gave birth to Odin's 8-legged horse, Sleipnir. So just to tell you quickly how that happened is they needed to distract this one giant's horse. Okay? And so Loki went into a female horse, right? Shapeshifted into a female horse, a mare. And he had Svadilsvari, which was that horse, right? Tempted him away. But he tempted him a little too well, and he got mounted. Anyways, but he ended up giving birth to Sleipnir, which again is Odin's magical horse. Loki has 2 sons with his first wife, Sigyn, Nari and Narfi, and 3 offspring with his second wife, the Jotun, or giantess, Angraboda, which was Hel, Fenrir, and Jormungandr. And again, Sleipnir is Loki's son also. So in the text, they have him having children as a woman. So again, gender fluidity. Notable myths featuring Loki illustrate his cunning and mischief, such as his role in the creation of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and his involvement in the death of the beloved god Baldur. I'll get into that story in a moment. So the friendship between Thor and Loki is fraught with contrast. Thor represents order and strength, and Loki personifies chaos and trickery. Their relationship is marked by both cooperation and conflict. Together, they embark on numerous adventures. Loki's schemes occasionally put Thor in peril, leading to tension between them. And this dynamic symbolizes the balance of order and chaos in Norse mythology, reflecting the complexity of their bond as well. So, that funny story I told you before about, Thor dressing up as Freya to trick the giant and Loki going as the handmaiden. So that's a little bit of one of the lighter side stories between Loki and Thor. They're friends and allies always, going back and forth between things. Loki's mischievous nature often leads to trouble, placing Thor in challenging situations. His tricksterness and provocateur nature often disrupts Thor's life, leading to both conflict and unexpected adventure. Loki's actions often test Thor's loyalty, morality, and patience. The relationship between Thor and Loki takes a dark turn, though, when Loki plays a role in Baldur's death, which also shatters the trust of the other gods. Okay. So, again, in a lot of the ancient texts, it's written that Loki had nothing to do with Baldur's death. But here's the story that a lot of historians believe was planted by Christian monks who did a lot of the scribing back then. So Baldur was the favorite of Frigg and Odin. So they put a protection on him, right? To make him invincible, so nothing could ever happen to him. And the only thing, when Frigg was concocting this magic, his mother, the only thing that Frigg really left out was the mistletoe plant, because she didn't think it could be any harm, really. She didn't even think of it at all. So Baldur, with his new invincibility, was kind of showing off, and they were having fun, and the other gods were like throwing spears at him and arrows and other things, and they all just bounced off, and they were having a grand old time laughing about it. And remember, his one brother, Hodur, is blind. So according to this story, Loki gives Hodur a dart or spear, depends on which story, made of mistletoe. And Hodor, of course, blind, doesn't see that it's mistletoe, and he throws it, and it strikes Balder, and Balder dies. And it's Loki's fault. So those events kind of are the start of Ragnarok. Oh, so for Loki's punishment for that, Thor plays a really significant role, reflecting the tragic end of their friendship. And this is interesting, because if you have seen the series Vikings, then you're going to recognize what I'm about to say here. So the punishment for this was that Loki was chained up in a cave. Then the giantess Skadi, I love her. We'll talk about her in another episode. I have a raven named Skadi. She hangs a serpent above Loki, which continually drips venom onto him. And his wife, Sigyn, collects the poison in a bowl and empties it when it's full. The venom would cause Loki to writhe in agony, making the world shake and bringing about the earthquakes that precede Ragnarok. His anger is also why he sided with the frost giants in Ragnarok. Again, if you watch the series Vikings, when Floki kills Athelstan, he's punished by being chained up in the cave and the water is dripping on his head continually. And Helga, being the wonderful, loyal wife that she is, does the same as Sigyn and tries to collect it in a bowl so Floki doesn't go insane. But back to Loki. Anyways, in my experience, he's really super fun to work with. He is a trickster and he is a shapeshifter. He has shown up as other deities, but I read energy signatures, not what I see. So he can't fool me, but boy, he likes to try. It's like a game for him. He has a superior intellect. And so do I. I'm not being conceited, but I am actually a genius. I've been tested when I got my TISM diagnosis. He sees my mind as a very formidable opponent, so he really enjoys playing games of wit, strategy, and high intellect with me. He channels through people without them realizing it. Naughty, naughty. He finds interesting ways to get your attention. Like I said, he's tricky, but he's really fun. He doesn't take things too seriously. Communication with him is sometimes tricky. Riddly answers. His energy when he comes in feels really warm and inviting. Like you could feel it in your solar plexus chakra. It's almost like it... Oh. Once it happens, you'll understand. It's like the sun gets put in your solar plexus chakra and turned on for a moment. It's just all of a sudden it just moves out through you as warm. I don't know. That's the best way I can describe it. Sorry if that's confusing. He's playful, mischievous, again, very informal communication. Informal communication with Thor, too. They don't like it when you're too formal. They're not those types of deities. You will get unexpected lessons with Loki, sometimes delving into chaos, but having good results on the other side, much like most of his stories in Norse mythology. He doesn't sugarcoat, though. He can't stand that. If you fucked up, he is straight up going to tell you that you fucked up. He protects outcasts, people who are bullied. He's also a heavy protector of the LGBTQ plus community. Like I said, he takes that role that he's now been given as a queer icon very seriously, like incredibly seriously. And he also protects anyone with disabilities, especially of the mind, like neurospiciness. He hates narcissists. And it's funny because in Marvel, his character refers to himself as a narcissist at one point. And I don't think that that's true because he shows empathy. And the definition of a narcissist is the lack of empathy. So I think he was just being too hard on himself. He also does not like anyone trying to perform dark, nefarious magic or manipulation, coercion, bad intentions, to be malicious or to hurt, especially against someone that he plays with or that he protects. You don't want to get on the bad side of Loki. I'm telling you that right now. He is fun, really fun, but you don't want to do that. Offerings. Anything related to his animal forms that he usually takes in Norse mythology. So the horse, flea, seal, birds, a fly, salmon, so fish. Also the snake or the serpent is a symbol for him. The sign of a snake coiled around another, making an S shape, or the biting of the tail, right? Because Jormungandr, the great serpent, is Loki's son. He is associated with the rune Canaways, which I put on my social media. It's the 6th rune. It represents knowledge, wisdom, and family. So like Loki and his tendency towards mischief and then healing, this symbol can have a positive and negative connotation, depending on where it falls in your reading. Colors associated with Loki: black, red, orange, and of course anything rainbow. Crystals, anything fiery red, red jasper, carnelian, rainbow, again, anything rainbow. Plants, creeping ivy. Herbs, he likes spicy things. Cinnamon, cardamom, ginger, cloves. Really likes caffeinated drinks. Fun sweets. Sweet tarts is one thing that I leave as offerings for him all the time. I don't know. I don't know if that's just a Canadian candy. I'm not sure. But they're like sweet and tart little candy things. And he likes those. Any other offerings? Like I have a rainbow scarf, and he loves that. I also have a bumper sticker that says heathen in runes, and he thinks that is hilarious. Any statues, any other rainbow stuff. His name spelt in runes, of course. I have a mug that says Loki for president. He loves that. As always, I'll have accompanying pictures on my socials that are already there. You can look at those. So let's go back a little bit and go to Marvel universe versus real. So there's like a demon thing. I don't know what it is. Malekith. That doesn't exist in Norse mythology. That name isn't even Norse. The Dark Elves. Yes, the cosmic dwarves are in the sagas a lot. For, like I said earlier, Odin's spear, Thor's hammer, Freya's necklace, etc. The Surtur, which is a fire giant with a huge flaming sword. And yes, that is a real thing from Norse mythology. The Surtur actually plays a huge part in Ragnarok, cutting apart the sky with the sword. So Marvel got that one kind of similar. And Fenrir makes an appearance in Marvel's Ragnarok, although nowhere in Norse mythology does he fight the Incredible Hulk. That was funny. Yeah, I thought that was really amusing. And the other part about Odin casting out Hela because he saw her strength and potential. Yeah, that's true. He did that. Again, though, Hel was Loki's daughter, but he did. When they were born, Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Hel, Odin was afraid. So he sent Jormungandr, who was just a tiny serpent at the time, baby serpent, down into the ocean where he grew into the big, huge, great serpent. He chained up Fenrir and he banished Hel to the underworld. So that was kind of similar as well. So Marvel did get quite a few things correct based off the mythology. And then a lot of things were silly, like Fenrir fighting the Incredible Hulk. But it makes for really good entertainment, right? Anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you would like to book a personal service with me and you want to know more information about that, you can go to my socials, again, at @Miss Merlin on all platforms. On Instagram, you're going to look in my highlights, and TikTok, you're going to look in the pinned videos, and that will give you all the services and the pricing. And you can contact me to book those at any time at angelic.alchemy11@gmail.com. All links will be in my link tree below for anything that you guys would need me for. And I will see you next week. Thanks again so much for joining me. Until then, stay magical. Bye.